Discipline, a vital topic, especially to young men trying to get their lives in order. How do we get more discipline? Where does it come from? What is the foundation of discipline? We know it's going to get us everything that we want, but from whence does it come? To say it like Justin Hawkins would say it, from whence does it come? It is vital that we understand this, because I do not see any prominent voice out there in culture telling you where it comes from. People tell us that discipline's important. Sure, we get plenty of that. Responsibility, discipline, great. Where does it come from? This week, we're going to listen to Jocko Willink. He's going to talk about discipline here, and he's going to say a lot of great things about it. Everything that he says about discipline is 100% correct except one. But it's not that in what he misses it's wrong. He doesn't say anything wrong, but he's just not giving you the full picture of discipline. He doesn't really understand where it comes from. Let's see what he has to say.
How do I get the desire to have discipline? I keep getting asked this type of question. How do I get discipline? Or how do I want discipline? Or how do I maintain discipline? And the answer, it's a simple answer, but obviously it's not easy. And there's all kinds of little tricks and methods that people talk about. And, they have some merit. Maybe they do work, these things, do the little things people say and wake up early. I say that, and write things down and take cold showers and tell everyone what you're going to do. So broadcast it and make promises or make bets with your friends of something that you don't want to lose. And those things, those ideas, they're cool. I'm sure they're going to have some impact, and if they work for you, that's awesome. But the fact of the matter is that the reason discipline is hard to maintain is because it is hard to maintain. That's what makes discipline hard. It's hard.
So where does discipline come from? It comes from discipline. I think we need more clarification on discipline if we're ever going to cultivate it. Here's an idea about discipline that you may have never heard. Because nobody, and this isn't a pick on the layman Jocko Willink, psychologists don't understand this. But it's right there, clear as day, and the reason why we don't get it is because we're stuck in a way of thinking, an ideology about psychology, about the world. An ideology that's set from both the left and the right. An ideology that says we are not built for this world. We are not built for this universe. We are in part a contradiction to existence. Implication being, discipline is not the natural state. But it is the natural state. Discipline, being committed, creating intentions for your life, goals, sticking to them. This is all the natural state. So the reason why we don't have discipline, it has nothing to do with the discipline at all, and everything to do with that which gets between us and discipline. On a neurological level, it has everything to do with that which inhibits executive function. And what inhibits executive function? Your amygdala. Anxiety. Anxiety is why discipline is difficult. It's not hard. Diamond is hard. Discipline is difficult. But it's not difficult once we learn to manage our anxiety. And how do we do that? We look at any threats in our life that we are avoiding. 95% of these threats that we're avoiding is simply a conversation. What conversations are we not having? What do we need to talk with our dad about? What do we need to talk with our mom about? What do we need to tell our professor? When we get a C in the midterm, we don't just go, well, I'm going to listen to more Jocko Willink YouTube videos, get more discipline so I do better on the next midterm. It doesn't work like that. If you are avoiding threats in your life, you will not have discipline. Neurologically, this is exactly what's going on. Discipline comes from the prefrontal cortex. Anxiety comes from the amygdala. And if these two regions in our brain do not link up well, it's not about quelling the amygdala, like the amygdala is bad. But if they aren't linked up well, then the amygdala is going to overtake the prefrontal cortex and you will not have discipline. I don't care how hard you try. I don't care how many cold showers you take. It's not going to happen. We must speak to the anxiety. The prefrontal cortex must speak to the amygdala. Otherwise, nothing is going to happen for you. And once you start speaking to the anxiety, confronting the threats that you're avoiding, let's first start by talking about the threats that you're avoiding. Until you start doing that, nothing's going to happen. And once you start doing that, you won't have to force anything. The discipline will be natural. It will simply happen. That's how you know you're on the right track. When you're doing the things that you want to do and it doesn't take any effort. You are built for existence. You are built for this world. But the problem is, if you have a lot of anxiety and you don't identify the anxiety and what it is and what's causing it, then unconsciously you identify with the anxiety. The anxiety feels simply like a part of existence. And that looks like procrastination. It looks like ennui. Looks like an overall sense of who cares, what's the point, like a what does it matter, whenever you make that sound. All right, that was a long rant, but it's important that we understand this. Continuing.
And if you hear me claim that discipline is easy for me, then straight up, that's just my ego talking.
And to be clear, kind of a side point, when he says ego, he doesn't really mean ego. It's good to have a strong ego. It's good to have a big ego. Ego as ego. Unfortunately, when most people talk about ego now, what they really mean is insecurity. That's your insecurity. Why do you say ego? That's your sense of self. That's really important. They're two totally opposite things. How did that happen? How did ego, that which is the opposite of insecurity, creating a strong identity, being an individual unto yourself, which can only come from managing your insecurity, that is your anxiety, how did that become conflated with anxiety, with your insecurities? Continuing.
That's what that is. Because I'm, unfortunately, just as human as everyone else. And it is work to maintain the discipline. That's what it is. Work. Holding the line. Maintaining the standard. Giving no slack, none. That's the discipline. That's the discipline. And it is hard. And if there's one thing I would say that does make it easier, it's to envision what it feels like when you're done. What it feels like after you've worked out, or you've held the line on your food intake, or you've pushed through some monotonous project that you have to do, and all those things. When they're done, they feel good.
All right, good. That could actually be helpful. Envisioning where you want to go. But what are we doing there? We're creating motivation for ourselves, driving ourselves forward. We're looking at our needs. What do we need? And the more in touch we get with our needs, the more likely we are to have discipline, the more motivated we are to get the need met. But none of that's going to matter until we get rid of the impediments. And that impediment being, just to repeat myself, because this is crucial. This is going to be crucial for your life. This is going to save you. That impediment being anxiety. But it's not just the anxiety in itself. It is our relationship with the anxiety. It's not wrong that the amygdala is there and it's firing. It's that our prefrontal cortex has not created a healthy relationship. It doesn't connect well with the amygdala. Look at people who have anxiety disorders versus people who don't. There's no difference in the amygdala activity or size. There can be, especially with PTSD. But most of the time, there's no difference. It's not about amygdala size or activity. It's about how well the PFC links up with the amygdala. And how do we do that? At the very least, we talk about the anxiety. We make a list. What am I avoiding? What conversations do I not want to have? What secrets do I have that I'm keeping from other people? Not that you go out and, of course, blab about the fact that your dad molested you, but that is something that you do talk about in therapy, specifically trauma therapy, specifically group therapy for trauma. You have a bad relationship with your dad, and most of you probably don't even have bad relationships with your dad or with anybody, but no relationships. You've gone 8.5 years of your life without having a serious, honest discussion with somebody, and you wonder why you have anxiety and you can't have discipline. We got to learn how to first be honest about who we are with other faces right there in front of us. Yes, we need to do that thing called expressing emotion, which most men are completely ruined on. Because the feminists who have overtaken psychology want you to express emotion like a woman does. Well, you're not going to do that, and it's not going to be healthy for you if you did do that. How do you express emotion? You talk about the threats in your life, the needs in your life, as a way to first connect with others and while taking responsibility for it. Because it is your responsibility. It's not your responsibility that your dad beat the crap out of you when you were 7, but your emotions surrounding that now, your resentment, your anger, not your anger, your hostility, your unacknowledged hostility, your sadness, your anxiety about that now, that is your responsibility. And you will be surprised, you will be shocked. You won't believe it. All this wasted energy trying to put this discipline on top of your psychological issues, and most of you, 95% of you, psychological issues aren't that bad, but they do need to be addressed. You do have anxieties you need to talk about, you need to first become aware of, which you do by talking about it, listening to others talk. If you have any issue with this, especially the New Year's coming up, you're going to make a New Year's resolution for yourself, you're going to fail. So how do you not fail? I'll put a link in the description of this video. Sign up for my group, my online group, Animus group. You will be surprised what happens when you really learn, not just to relate with your anxiety, but just to relate with yourself in a healthy way. Nobody else is talking about this. Nobody else has quite honestly, the intellectual foundation to talk about this. All right, that's it. Thanks for listening, guys. Again, the link for the group is in the description. And have a Merry Christmas. And, once you relate with the anxiety better, a Happy New Year.